The FBI report she references confused me.
Me too.
Because this is what her headline is, opinion, damning report labels FBI rudderless ship under Kash Patel, with him and Dan Bongino more concerned with building personal resumes, which is a quote. And then she bases her report on, it's called a 115 report, quote, source reporting and analysis of the FBI under the leadership of FBI Director Kash Patel, a pulse check for the first 6 months. 4, U.S. Senate Committee on the Judiciary and Chairman Chuck Grassley, and U.S. House Committee on the Judiciary and Chairman Jim Jordan, by the National Alliance of Retired and Active Duty FBI Special Agents and Analysts. So I remain unclear on whether this was requested by the Senate Committee, whether this is just a bunch of like ex-FBI people who are disgruntled and predictably don't like Dan and Kash, or what this is. Sounds so official. I don't understand whether it is, but what we do know is it's very nasty. It really goes after Kash. They have a passing shot at Dan Bongino, trying to diminish him, but mostly it's focusing on Kash Patel. And the thing that they're really zeroing in on is what they say is like a vanity, I guess, of his. A vanity. That they talk about how when he flew out to the Charlie Kirk staging, like the FBI staging in the wake of it, he was insistent on getting an FBI jacket brought to him on board the plane before he disembarked, and that he apparently did not have his own, quoting here, FBI raid jacket with him. He refused to step from the plane without wearing one. That FBI special agents at the Salt Lake City field office busy working on the Kirk case, quote, had to stop and ask around to find an FBI raid jacket, a medium-sized one that would fit. When a jacket belonging to a female agent was delivered to Patel on the plane, he complained that, quote, 2 areas on the upper sleeves did not have Velcro patches attached. And then he would not leave the plane, quote, until he had 2 patches to cover those areas, quote, so members of an FBI SWAT team took patches off of their uniforms and ran those patches over to Patel at the airport. The patches were then attached to the loaner FBI raid jacket, and Patel disembarked from the plane. The director was not happy with the way the investigation was going. He had an expletive-filled tirade, whatever. All that's kind of ridiculous. Of course, people yell in these tense times. But the jacket story, if true, it's not great.
No. Look, I had the same reaction you did, too. Like, I'm reading this story. I've read my share of stories about stuff like this. I don't remember this kind of quasi-official, anonymous report that's handed over like that. I just don't remember anything quite like that. Not just with the FBI. I don't remember anything like that. They wrote like a serious, rigorous report with all these details, but it's not official, but it's kind of official. And then again, the question of Miranda. She's the only one, as far as I know, who's reported this so far. She's not anti-Trump. She doesn't write for an anti-Trump publication. And yet, with a few, to be sure, paragraphs of positive things, it's a very negative story. It's a very negative report. So you got to ask yourself, how did this thing get done? And how did it end up with Miranda? And how did Miranda decide to write it up? These are not the only stories like this about Kash Patel. There's other stories, but most of them have circulated in places like the Washington Post, the New York Times. So it's a bit of a mystery. But you're seeing the same things with Pete Hegseth, and to some extent with Kristi Noem, which is again, it's not liberal media. It's people who love the president, who care about the president, who are using different outlets, in this case the New York Post, to put out there's problems. It's hard to escape the conclusion that the people are motivated by a desire to get the president to make a change in personnel, and he's not done that yet, and it's not clear if these will have an impact.
You know what though? It's always. Today we had a decision from the Third Circuit Court of Appeals before we came on the air, saying that Alina Habak cannot be the acting U.S. attorney for a district in New Jersey, and this is separate from the Tish James and James Comey challenge, which is still making its way up to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, and we'll see whether that court affirms the lower court decision that she too was. That the prosecutor there was also not appointed correctly. That's Lindsay Halligan. So this is a separate thing. It's Alina Habba. She was Trump's personal lawyer, and he made her acting U.S. attorney. within this district in the Northeast that answers to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Third Circuit Court of Appeals came down unanimously, 3-judge panel, saying they don't have the power to appoint her. She's got to go. She was not properly appointed. She's not the proper U.S. attorney. This is not a great decision for Trump. It's not a great decision to the extent it gets considered by the Fourth Circuit. That's deciding something similar, though not identical, with Lindsay Halligan. But the first thing I did when I got it, Mark, was to look at who are the judges, who was appointed, who were they appointed by. And in today's day and age, what you need to see is not just a Republican president. You need to see Trump, that it was a Trump appointee, if Trump has any fighting chance. If you see George W. Bush appointee, George H.W. Bush appointee, Reagan, you're not going to see it. You might as well see it be a Barack Obama judge. It's almost that bad. They all hate Trump. And that court was 2 W appointees and an Obama appointee, so not surprisingly, we knew how it was going to go, and that's exactly how it went. And that's kind of what I think when I see a lot of the Republicans leaking on Trump, because clearly this came from somebody who's more, I think, right-wing aligned. They went to Miranda. I could be wrong, but it's not just Miranda. I see some of these reporting in other right-wing papers. And I think it's the Bush-era people who, just because they're part of the Trump administration in some way, shape, or form, like they're currently at the FBI, does not mean that they're pro-Trump. And if you were there, even if you're a Republican, but you're a more George W. Bush Republican, you might go to the Post or the Wall Street Journal in particular and leak something very damaging to Trump, so it will look like it's, right-on-right violence. It'll look more credible to the right wing, that is. But you really hate him just as much as the left hates him. And what you almost never see is Democrats doing this to Democrats. I'm like, you're telling me there weren't terrible stories to leak about Pete Buttigieg? Bull, or Merrick Garland for that matter, or Chris Wray even. There were. It just doesn't happen.
Well, it does happen with Kamala Harris. So there's at least one exception there. There were stories like that about her and her staff. I think that it's a sad thing, but it's true. Judges are result oriented, and I used to say it all the time after Bush v. Gore, and lawyers and various political lawyers would call me and say, no, judges are fair, justices are fair, they follow the law. No, they're almost all result oriented, and I think that's just horrible. They should be ruling based on the law, and, no matter who nominated them for the court. In this case, you're absolutely right that it's a cheat for a reporter to say Republicans are saying if they're Bush Republicans, because the Bushes and the Bush, Team Bush are not fans of Donald Trump, anymore, as you said, than the Team Obama is. But I'll say again, there are Republicans now who are unhappy with Kash Patel, who are Trump Republicans. There are Trump Republicans who are unhappy with Donald Trump right now. Some about the economy, some about Epstein. So you see that reflected not just at the elite level, which is I'm talking about, but you see that in the Gallup poll, but also in other even Republican polls. Republicans, for various reasons, are unhappy, even Trump Republicans, with the president right now. And his first order of business is to turn that around, not just overall, but on issues. Republicans need to be confident about the economy and his policies. They need to be confident about Epstein and his view there, et cetera. So he no doubt has problems with Bush Republicans and Reagan Republicans, but he's got some problems with Trump Republicans too now. And I know that because I talked to them directly.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vanity crisps. Vanity, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips too. Ready to give Masa or Vanity a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vanity are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.